And there we are. Let me make sure everybody is unmuted. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Boom and boom. There, now we have everybody in the call. Welcome back, horror fans, to the Week in Horror podcast. This week, we're covering select horror films released December 13th through December 19th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Johnny O, and with me is JL and Eugene.
Hey, everyone. We are live.
Yeah, buddy.
I've been so excited about this. I've been it's been so nerve-wracking anticipating going live because, everything, we can clean the show up when we record it privately. We can make edits to it like this. But now, all the fuck-ups that we normally hide, they're all right here.
What?
No,
Eugene, you can hear Eugene. Come on, he's loud and clear. Jessica G.
All right, how the hell is everyone? I'm going to show it out because it's our first live episode, and we have got Jessica G in the chat. We've got Dark Steve 84 in the chat. It is so good to see you guys. Thank you all so much for checking us out. This is the first one that we've done live, so man, we got a bunch of stuff we want to get to. So where to start? I want to let everybody in the live chat know that there will be a trivia question at the end of this show. And it's a fairly easy one. It's not going to be tough like the previous ones we've done, but there will be a trivia question, and the winner of that trivia question will get a limited edition Week in Horror t-shirt. We will send it directly to you, just like this one. Now, remember, those are in the TeeSpring shop, and those will leave the TeeSpring shop at the end of the month. So for the rest of December, that shirt will be there. It's the first limited edition shirt, and then it will be gone. And who knows for how long? Possibly forever. But I wanted to give one of these bad boys away because I'm such a fan of the work that our artist did on this. It's really, really magnificent stuff.
Yeah, so, Josh is really good at what he does.
He's so fantastic. Absolutely love it. So,
same possible Christmas present.
There you go. And we've got all products. The coffee mug, all the shirts are all at reduced prices, up to 40 to 50% off every single one through the end of the year. I didn't want to just try to capitalize on everything. I wanted to make sure everyone can get their opportunity to get a shirt at the extremely reduced price. So I want to make sure that everyone can have one of these in their collection. So let's kick this off. There is something interesting. Two things I want to bring up before we jump into these movies, and hopefully we can get some interaction from the audience, see what they say like this. Now, first thing up is I don't know what everybody's personal kind of position is regarding Johnny Depp.
But
next question.
Next.
I wanted to bring up Tim Burton wants to direct, and it looks like it's moving forward, is going to be directing a new Addams Family for Netflix. So Netflix has just been amazing, especially during the whole log allergy crap that's going on right now. Netflix has been amazing. They've had Stephen King adaptations that have come out. Fantastic series and films going directly to Netflix. But we're looking at potentially a new Addams Family. And the rumor has it, the prevailing rumor, because it's Tim Burton, and Tim Burton loves Johnny Depp, is that Johnny Depp would be the new Gomez Addams, and Ava Green would be the new Morticia. So, but my curiosity is, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Because this is an interesting thing that I think people might have a real opinion on.
Go ahead, Eugene. You can tell by the sour look on my face I'm not happy.
I'm actually pretty excited about it. If anybody's going to pull it off, I think it's going to be Tim Burton. I haven't been excited about the last couple of Tim Burton projects because I've been wanting him to see him go back to original stuff, like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands. And it seems like it's been like remake after remake after remake after remake, re-adaptations. And I realize the Addams Family is another one, but if anybody's going to pull off the aesthetics, I love the 91, 92 film. I think it's going to be Tim Burton. And I can see Johnny Depp, because Johnny Depp can play that outside. It's not necessarily, I would say, eccentric as Goldman Adams, an eccentric character, but I think Johnny Depp can actually do it really well, and I'm a huge fan of Eva Green. On top of that, so
she looks weird, which is why she's perfect for the role. She looks weird. Okay, she's got this weird looking face, which makes her perfect for the role of Morticia Addams. Johnny Depp can take a long walk off a short cliff.
Oh, damn. Just the Johnny Depp hate. Just the hate. Not
a fan. Not a fan of Johnny Depp.
I think that it would be very interesting. Now, because Johnny Depp would not try to imitate the other fantastic actors that have played that, whether it's John Astin or it's Raul Julia, who the legendary Raul Julia. Yes, they had their own take on the character, and they did not try. Obviously, John Astin set the standard. Raul Julia did not try and copy him. He didn't. He made it his own.
He did his own thing. Yeah.
He and Angelica Houston worked beautifully together. But I think Johnny would make it his own. But it would not be, like I think in Dark Shadows, where I think it was a little too kind of off the cuff. It was kind of weird. But I think he would do it good. I think he would do it a good service. I like Johnny Depp. I'm a fan of Johnny Depp, especially when he's able to get his teeth into something that he really, really enjoys himself. So I liked him in Black Mass. I liked him in Secret Window. There are some movies. I mean, Ninth Gate, I can kind of forgive it. I hate Ninth Gate, but I did like Johnny Depp's performance in that. He does good work. And I, for one, I would say I'm 60-40 on it because, and I would say the variable is Tim Burton. I don't know where Tim Burton will take this because his universe, I don't think is really the Addams Family universe, but we shall see.
Oh, as a director, I think he can pull off that that creepy but normal kind of. I think he can do it. His work on Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas, I think he tends to lean more towards that style anyway. I think he can do it. I just don't like Johnny Depp.
What's wrong with Johnny Depp?
What's right with Johnny Depp? What's right with Johnny Depp?
What's right with Johnny Depp?
The only movie I saw that I liked Johnny Depp in was What's Eating Gilbert Grape. That was it.
He was good in that too, yeah. Oh, got some more people in the chat. Hey, Jeff Roberts, good to see you. And hey, PhD Tony, one of the Beardsmen.
It is the slayer of all flurfs, PhD Tony.
The slayer of all flurfs, yes. Oh, Jeff Roberts says, Boban Marjanovic should be Lurch. Unfortunately, I don't know who that is. I will have to look him up. But if Lurch would be pretty specific as to who could play that. So I'll take your word, Jeff, that he would be perfect for it.
It'd have to be a very tall person.
Yes.
But who would play? So in your vision, who would play Wednesday and Pugsley?
Oh, that's a good question.
I actually, maybe I can't remember his name. Dustin from Stranger Things could be Pugsley.
He might be a little too old for the role, though.
But he still looks young. He really does. Hey, Bella Charge, what's up? I honestly, with Wednesday, I have no idea because every time I think Wednesday, I think Christina Ricci. And I am biased, and I don't want to compare anybody else to that. I really don't know any young actresses that can really that could capture that the way Christina Ricci did. So,
well, what about 11? I mean, if we're going to stay on the Stranger Things.
You thought you were talking about
Millie Bobby Brown?
Millie Bobby Brown. That's a possibility. That'd be kind of cool to see the two of them working together. Yeah, Jessica G. Yeah, correct. The kids from Stranger Things would be a great resource.
We'll just take the entire cast of Stranger Things. Just
there you go. I'll say, okay, all right. Here's the deal. I'll agree to Johnny Depp if they cast me as Uncle Fester.
You could so be Uncle Fester, although you'd have to be clean shaven.
Pass. How about Cousin It? I'm too tall though. Fuck.
Oh shit! Jeff Roberts says that guy, the big guy who wants to lurch. He plays in the NBA. He's over 7 feet tall. He was the big dude in the last John Wick and John Wick 3. So yes. Oh, so yeah, I could see that. I could see it with the appropriate makeup and facial prosthetics. I could definitely see him doing that. That would be sweet.
Yeah, I can see that.
Awesome. Well, something else I want to run through before we jump in. So 2021 is coming up. We're screaming towards the end of this god awful year, and we're looking at what do we have to look forward to in 2021. And for some
Not
people,
much.
not a lot, but some would say unfortunately, we are looking at a bunch of remakes. There are a bunch of remakes coming up. So I wanted to get people some quick takes on these remakes that are coming out. We talked about this on the last episode, but now we're going live, and I want to get some audience reaction to these remakes. So I'm just going to go down the list, and this is a pretty short list, but I want to go down and get people's kind of initial reactions to it. If anybody wants to type up a blurb, we'll see if we can catch it because we're going to go pretty fast. They're going to remake Wrong Turn. It's a straight up remake of the first film to kind of reboot the franchise.
Hey, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I mean, why? You have cannibalistic hillbillies in the woods. Just make a seventh one.
Exactly. They're already up to 6. So 6 films in. Why not do a 7th one? I mean, they've expanded the mythology pretty intensely in the Wrong Turn franchise. I don't know why they would need to do a reboot or a remake or even start the franchise over again. That just sounds silly to me. So just go ahead and make a 7th one and add some more mythology to it. I have no idea. But yeah, I don't see the point of doing that. I'm not sure what the chat says. We may see it here in a second. But yeah, trying to figure out why they would do a Wrong Turn remake just kind of is silly to me.
I mean, you had the best one was the first one, and then just went downhill from there.
Oh yeah, and that was a very steep hill.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so next one up, they're remaking An American Werewolf in London, and it is being written by John Landis' son.
This is another one. American Werewolf in London is lauded for like its transformation and prosthetic usage, and you have to stay with it. I would rather have bad practicals in that film than good CGI, because you look at American Werewolf in Paris and the transformation that looked terrible.
Yes, that was awful.
So I still feel like it's kind of a crack. Like the remake of Wrong Turn is a cash grab. That's all it is, just a straight cash grab. Yeah. This one, it still kind of feels like one. I mean, even American Werewolf in Paris came out with like 90, maybe like 99 or 95 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah, late 90s.
And then the American Werewolf in London came out like 80s, like early 80s, something like that. Why?
I think it may be a nostalgic cash grab. It might be. Now, John Landis' son is involved in it, but John Landis himself is not happy about the remake. I'm pretty sure that he thinks nobody should touch that one. That it was already fucked up with American Werewolf in Paris, and trying to do something more with it is just it's just gonna screw it up and possibly tarnish the legacy of the original. I don't know, maybe. But as a purist, kind of a horror purist, I don't think they should remake that. I think that's one of those ones, much like The Exorcist. I don't think that they should remake that one.
They shouldn't. Just because you share a DNA with somebody who actually wrote it doesn't mean your version's going to be good.
Yeah,
like, at all. And then on top of the fact, he's like, "Why are you remaking my film?" It's just even worse on top of that.
Exactly. So the next one up, obviously, and I know a lot of people in the horror community know about this one. They're remaking Candyman.
This one is actually one I am excited about. First of all, you bring the freak off back on top of that. So this actually has potential. There's a lot of lore that I feel like you can still dive into with Candyman on it. Candyman has always been kind of a fascinating franchise because it's not your typical, like your slasher on it. It has its own kind of feel of aesthetic to it. So I'm actually interested in this one.
Interesting. Yeah, of course. I think that kind of like the thing that separates was obviously from the mind of Clive Barker, and Clive Barker horror is always off the beaten trail. So I am kind of curious about it. I do like the fact that Tony Todd is involved in it. They're going to take it in a new direction. So maybe a reboot of the franchise, or technically remaking kind of the first story. This should be interesting. I'm better on this one than I am the previous two. So yeah, hopefully we'll see something good here real quick. We just want to let everybody know that Johnny has run into kind of a little emergency situation. He's got to deal with that. Apparently it's kind of crazy. So he will be back shortly, but we're going to keep going. And yes, Theoretic Peel is attached, I believe, as a producer for the remake of Candyman. So he may have some say that's a good sign. That is a very, very good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next up on that list is Firestarter. So a remake of Stephen King's Firestarter. No idea who's going to star in it yet. And of course, the only reference point we have is the amazing, Drew Barrymore vehicle. She was incredible in that. George C. Scott was incredible in that. Everybody was great in that movie. I love Firestarter. I thought it was fantastic for the time it came out with the effects that it had. But it was true to the story, and I really, really enjoyed that kind of look into Stephen King's universe. I honestly don't think that they should touch it. I don't think they should.
I don't think they should, but when you have like an adapted work like Stephen King, I can see the possibility of it, because with anytime you're taking something from a book into a movie, you have to leave out certain things and prioritize other things.
Yeah.
So I believe somebody can actually go back to it, have another vision of it, and maybe kind of focus on other aspects of the story, and could make it as good. Now, I like the original Firestarter. I'm hoping that's why it's a possibility. When you say like Wrong Turn, where it's just movies, that's it. You're just pulling stuff out of thin air. Why? But they can maybe focus on another area of the book, or some additional characters, something like that. It can be interesting what they do.
Yeah, I am curious, especially with technology today. I think with the kind of love that Stephen King films get, and yes, Dark Steve, I loved it. I love all Stephen King as well. But I hope that it gets a better treatment than Carrie did, because Carrie felt very soulless to me, the Carrie remake. So hopefully a little bit more love will be, and of course the Pet Sematary remake. I wasn't a big fan of the changes they made in that. I thought that it altered the emotional landscape of the entire story, but that's just me. So I hope that it does get some treatment. It does get the fair treatment it should get, considering it's one of the better Stephen King adaptations. PhD Tony says, I think Firestarter is fair game. Modern special effects have the potential to kick it up a notch, and you are correct on that. You are correct.
I can see that.
And Jessica G says Sleepwalkers was awful. Yeah, that's probably why they are not remaking that movie.
You are right.
It's so funny because Eugene actually brought up the point once about why do they keep remaking good films? Why don't they fucking remake the bad fuckers so that we can at least get good versions of those movies?
Yeah, exactly. Always want to keep remaking these good movies. It's like, well, we already have a good movie. Let's remake the movies that like people like fucked up on.
Yes.
Those where it's like talk about like Dune, which I'm really excited about the new Dune coming out. But it's a good story that had some bad versions.
Yeah, definitely. Next on our remake list is Little Shop of Horrors. So there's no details on whether or not this is going to be a musical again, or if it's going to be kind of a remake of the black comedy version that came out that starred Jack Nicholson. It may be the musical. They may go the black comedy musical style again, which was fun. But I think that was solely for the time period. I think Rick Moranis and everybody involved in that were perfect casting for that film. I don't think you can recreate that. They may go in a different direction where they go closer to the original one, to the Broadway play, or to the film that starred Jack Nicholson. So I don't know where this is going to go. I'm really up in the air. At this point, I'm kind of 20/80 on remaking Little Shop of Horrors. That's kind of
For this one, it really depends on your approach. If you try to do the musical, you Feed Me, Seymour, all that kind of stuff, you are going to fail epically, because I loved the Little Shop of Horrors, Rick Moranis.
And of course, it was Little Richard was the voice.
Yeah, Little Richard.
Little Richard was the voice of Audrey too. Yeah.
So you're gonna fail. Yeah, no problem. You're gonna fail epically on Little Shop of Horrors if you try to remake the musical route. Now, if you did something maybe like a horror route, maybe a serious horror movie, that could be interesting.
That could be. something. To keep up the chat, yes, Dark Steve 84 says the Tommy Knockers was probably the one I liked the least. A lot of people did, but I think when it's made for television, there's a lot lost in translation. Theoretic says, I wish someone would make Kings the Regulators into a movie. And yes, that would be awesome. The problem was that Regulators goes hand in hand with Desperation. And Desperation did not fare well, which is why the Regulators did not get made, because it was supposed to come out afterwards. But Desperation was kind of and nobody really responded well to it, so unfortunately, no Regulators. PhD Tony says he likes Hellraiser 3, and Jessica G laughs at him. With that. So,
okay, really quick.
Yeah.
Let's see here. New Addams Family, thumbs down. Wait, no, we already did that. Wrong
Okay,
turn.
Johnny's
Really quick, yeah, because I missed all the fun. Wrong turn. I'm like this. American Werewolf in London. Candyman. Firestarter. Little Shop of Horrors. Nosferatu. Resident Evil.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, sorry.
You're caught up.
All right, cool.
So yes, Steve Martin, and yes, Jeff Roberts. Steve Martin as the dentist was brilliant in that movie. I think a performance that could not be recaptured.
You can't redo that film.
Yeah, true. And going ahead, yes, we are looking at the last ones. We're looking at a remake of Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, it's so people who don't know the story about the film it's basically a ripoff of Dracula. And the filmmakers actually wanted to make a Dracula film, and Bram Stoker's widow, after it was already filmed, basically was like, no, you don't have the rights to do it. So they
how he was able to do it, though?
How?
Because they went overseas.
Yeah, I mean, it's overseas. It's a German film.
Yeah. So Nosferatu is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah. It's basically it. So the problem you have with it is because it's almost a direct Dracula ripoff, why are you just making a Dracula film? I love Nosferatu, and Nosferatu is great, and there's still some imagery in that movie that is creepy to this day. The first time you see him in the hallway, and he's just...
My problem is that Nosferatu was a short film, and it worked because it was so tight and it was so clean and it hit the right points. It was a silent movie, so
and it was a silent film. Yeah,
you can't waste time on glorious exposition. Your title cards would be like 3 or 4 title cards long, so it works best in short format. And that's how Nosferatu worked. Was it short, tight, clean format? The question is, can you expand that? Otherwise, Eugene's correct. You are just remaking Dracula. So why not just make another Dracula? Oh, because we don't want to tread on the toes of Coppola's, kind of magnificent, Bram Stoker's Dracula. That Gary Oldman. We don't want to tread on the toes. So we're going to do Nosferatu instead. Count Orlok. I don't know, but I'm not feeling. I don't know if it'll work in long form. And Jessica G has challenged me. Let's see if JL avoids the Hellraiser 3 comments. I bet he dodges it like a flirt dodges science class. And no, I'm not. I was just trying to tell you again everybody else. But they should remake that piece of shit, Hellraiser 3. The movie was not great. There were a couple things I loved about it, but nonetheless. PhD Tony says, Desperation has, however, worked well as JL's cologne. It has. You can almost smell it through the camera. Jessica G says, I can't stop thinking about how much I want to smash with Eugene.
All right. How you doing, Jessica?
And Jessica says, I bet he uses it as a kickstand.
That's just his shoe. Look, all right. I want everybody to notice. I want everybody to see something here. I made this fucking tea 2 hours ago. Put it in this goddamn cup, and it's still fucking Satan's balls hot in there. Jesus Christ.
Nice.
That's a hell of a cup you got.
That's a hell of a cup.
Who made that cup?
I don't know.
Built. An Yeti or an Arctic?
Built, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we have 2 more films, two more potential remakes coming up. First up, Resident Evil. After 7 movies, they're going to remake the beginning. They're going to remake and start again. Now, I have heard that this film is going to is going to fall more in line with the games. So we actually make that not so much remake, but an adaptation of the actual video games. I'm not 100% sure. Things are still up in the air. Paul Anderson is not going to be in it. Mila Jovovich is not returning to reprise her role as Alice. We're looking at something completely new. But it's 7 movies in, and do we need it? Resident Evil?
Yes.
With Resident Evil, it's gone so far into its own thing where it's not even related to the video game anymore. Once you get past like basically even 3 really kind of got off the rails, it kind of created its own direction and it steered so far away from the game that saying, "Oh, let's do another Resident Evil remake closer to the game," it doesn't feel like you're treading over stuff anymore. It doesn't. It could be, I mean, Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil, all the others, they're not made after the game anymore.
Yeah, it's true. They do divert after Apocalypse. It does, with Extinction and Afterlife and Retribution. I don't know. That's so many fucking so many. I'm not sure. Did JL just PhD Tony says, did JL just say Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula was not terrible? And I did. That movie was not terrible. Gary Oldman was magnificent in that. And Anthony Hopkins off the fucking hook.
Yep.
Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing was amazing. So
Carol Ellis was good.
Carol Ellis was good.
The only parts of that film that were not good were Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. They were terrible.
Well, Keanu Reeves was kept to a minimum. And Winona Ryder was cute and didn't have a shit ton of lines. So that's a good thing.
she was kind of limited on that.
Still, their performances almost pulled the movie down.
Well, that's why we have such amazing
This Blue
stuff.
Inferno? This god awful Blue Inferno?
That's why you counterbalance with Gary Oldman.
You counterbalance with Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman and oh my God, I can't remember his name. Is a Richard something? He was one of the 3. He was the doctor. He was Seward.
Wow.
Oh, Richard. What was his last name? Son of a bitch. He was the head villain in Hudson Hawk.
I see his face.
Yeah, I can see his face too. But anyway, but yes, I did. This is true. It was not a terrible film. There were many great things about that movie. Gary Oldman was stunning. Was just incredible. He's just a
Richard Grant.
Richard Grant. That's it. And then of course, I modeled my. That was some inspiration that went into how I try to approach acting. Is pretty much like Gary Oldman. I will never be Gary Oldman, but I do take inspiration from his method and what the guy does. So I try to do that myself. And of course, my very first professional production ever as an actor, when I got out of school and I was going out there to start working for a living, was in Dracula. Was in a stage production of Dracula, and I played Van Helsing. And I was young. I was so like that. So I took a great amount of inspiration from Anthony Hopkins' performance, and I tried to make it my own. But hell, I was a 23-year-old kid playing a 60-year-old German man. So what the fuck. It's all I think Jessica G says, I think he also agreed with me that Hellraiser 3 is a piece of shit, but he really loved that they had 37 key grips and a 3 in the title. Ha 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 ha. And the last one that they are remaking is Spawn.
That I'm looking forward to that one because from what I understand, Todd McFarlane is taking the reins on this one and he's going to make it a true horror film. It's not going to be all action. It's going to be the Spawn as we remember it. And here's the thing. I hope he does what was it called? Not the Blood Feud. What was that series where the vampire comes into town and starts killing people blaming Spawn instead?
Oh, yeah. God, heaven allowed her to, or was promising her salvation if she managed to lure him out and get Al Simmons killed.
No. Different storyline. I'm gonna look it up because this is such a good.
Dude, there's so many. I mean, it's been a long time since I've read Spawn. I've got my number 1 sealed away, but I don't know. But I mean, I do like it. I know New Line interfered very heavily with the first one, and Todd was never happy about that, and so. We obviously didn't get his vision for what he wanted. Obviously, I thought John Leguizamo did the best he could as Clown. There were some moments there that I really, really dug, but fucking Muppet Malbolgia and CGI chains and shit. No, that wasn't good. So it was kind of like, whatever. Not to mention the kid in the alley. I don't fucking get that. And there's no Cogliostro is whatever. Anyway,
it was terrible.
I am looking forward to the potential remake. I'm seriously looking forward to that because with more control in Todd McFarlane's hands and the money going where he wants it to go and the story that he wants to tell, I think he's going to take. I'm looking for something more in line with the HBO animated series, which was magnificent.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and the thing is the fact that it's been a long time since I've read anything Spawn. Long time. I was a kid. But I really enjoyed it. I am looking forward to this one. Spawn is he's always fascinating me.
Let's see. Jeff Roberts asked, didn't McFarlane direct the original Spawn? And no, that was Mark A.Z. Dippe. I know that Todd McFarlane was an executive producer on that film, but shoddy direction from a lackluster director and studio interference really fucked that movie.
Yes.
I've heard that there was a ridiculous amount of content that was cut. There's supposed to be more stuff with Angela because it turned out that people thought that was an Easter egg when Angela's wandering through as it was at the party that Jason Wynn is at. No, it was not. There was supposed to be more to that.
Yeah, there was fully fleshed out storyline there that we never got because of studio interference.
There was supposed to be stuff with Angela. There was supposed to be more stuff with Cogliostro. There was supposed to be more stuff with Clown. Other than the kind of Yoda shit that he was doing. There was supposed to be a lot more depth, and it did not happen. Fortunately, we did get the HBO series, which ran for 3 seasons. There were some, which took some truncated storylines in there. There was also supposed to be more with Sam and Twitch, because we glimpsed Sam and Twitch at the end of the movie when they were carting Jason Wynn away. But that didn't happen. So it was kind of like, eh. And hopefully we get the story we were supposed to get back in 1997. So I, for one, am very excited about to see what Todd McFarlane can come out, especially with the advent of technology and special effects today. It should be really sick. I want to see a badass Violator on screen. I really do.
What I would like to see is a well fleshed out story.
Oh yes, yeah. something fucking coherent.
I would like a good movie.
Tony says, yeah. So John Leguizamo's performance doesn't magically make Spawn a masterpiece. Double standard much? No, it does not make it a masterpiece at all. Even John Leguizamo could not save that movie. Jessica G says it was also in the infancy of comics to film. Back when they were always pieces of crap. Now studios put out huge budgets. This is true. Tony Stark, Iron Man, MCU, the Marvel pretty much proved that you could do that and make it amazing. So what can you say? Back then it was hit or miss. Blade was I will defend Blade. I thought Blade was genius. Blade was amazing.
Oh, Blade was a film. It really is. It was just basically, it was a time before people cracked the formula. When you had the MCU and the Dark Knight trilogy come out about the same time, and that shows you right off the bat, you could have a fun version, you could have a dark, gritty version, and this is how you make it, and they're both successful.
Yep. See, PhD Tony says special effects slightly better than PS2 standard would certainly help. Yes, it would. PhD Tony, jail's fixation with violators is a matter of public record. Actually,
all right. Let's get down to business. JL.
Irish Demon has more experience than that. Go check out his channel. And yes, Jeff Roberts' Blade was fucking awesome. Yes, Johnny, go for it.
No, you go for it.
Oh,
what do we have up first, JL?
All right, what do we have up first? Let me pull this up real quick. No, I looked up Blade real fast. So, yes, okay. So the first film we have, we're kicking this bad boy off, and unfortunately, I got to switch over to another screen, so I don't see the live chat currently. I'll try and bounce back and forth as we go along. The first movie we have up, released December 13th, 2019, We Summon the Darkness. So, directed by Mark Myers and written by Alan Trezza, starring Alexander Daddario, Kean Johnson, Maddie Hassan, Logan Miller, Amy Forsyth, Austin Swift, and Johnny Knoxville of Jackass fame. So, it is, in a nutshell, the film follows a trio of girls who are looking to have a good time as they sacrifice their boy toys to their dark god. And twists and turns and unexpected things occur. Shit obviously goes fucking haywire. And a couple of surprises from a film that I thought was going to be fairly boilerplate, but turned out to be pretty smartly written. I kind of enjoyed it. It was a fun little romp. Hey man, hot chicks doing bad things. You can't argue with that shit. You can't argue with hot chicks doing bad shit.
You're talking about one of the oldest tropes that we've seen in horror films.
Make sure you emphasize that. Oldest tropes in horror films.
I tell you, if Nosferatu, right, if it was able to have hot chicks doing bad things in it, they would have had it too. On top of that,
I rest my case.
Some nice 12 frames per second. Girls.
Hey, Charlie, welcome to see you. But yes, hot chicks doing bad things. That's always, yes, it's an old trope. Why is it an old trope? Because it works. Especially,
does it though?
Especially Alexandra Daddario. True Detective season 1. That's all I'm going to say.
She looks weird in the face.
Who doesn't look weird in the face?
There is.
That's fair.
This is true, but there is an appeal to hot chicks doing bad things. There is.
Can I just say?
Yes.
Can I just say that I figured this movie out in the first 5 minutes?
It was unfortunately predictable.
There's predictable, and then there's grossly predictable. So predictable that not only did I figure out who was going to die first, I figured out who the plot twist was. Everything, the whole movie. If you're paying attention for even just a little bit in the first maybe 10 minutes of the film, you've got the whole thing figured out.
But with films, most films are actually predictable. It's more about a matter of how you get there versus what's going to happen in the end. I mean, when you watch, say, like a rom-com, for example, we know the guy and the girl get together at the end. Everybody
but that's a rom-com.
A lot of them.
I will say the Lighthouse was not predictable. I didn't know what.
Oh, I mean, there are certain films out there that obviously they're not predictable. But the thing is that the majority, over 50% of films out there are predictable to a degree, because you follow certain patterns that work, you follow certain stories that work. People are expecting different things, and especially nowadays with film, where originality is something that's not necessarily looked at or looked for right now. We get all these books and remakes and all sorts of kind of stuff. People sometimes just want to already know the ending.
Well, there's this ironclad grip that Hollywood has on formulaic filmmaking, and yes, there's a reason why particular formulas exist in filmmaking, and they teach them to us. Like 3-act structure and specific narrative tropes that you typically stick to, because these are what have stood the test of time. These are what
I hear all that.
So, unfortunately, that does make them somewhat predictable. It does.
Here's the thing. There's a difference between being somewhat predictable and the film looking like it was a film student's first film ever. And I'm not talking about the way it looks. No, I'm talking about the way it's put together. It screams overly formulaic. Like 20 years ago, it may have been a cool little twist, but now it's like everybody's looking for it. And if you're not looking for it, you've never seen a horror film before. This was not a horror film made for horror film buffs. This was a horror film made for people who've never seen a horror movie before.
Or people who enjoy watching hot chicks do bad things.
Or people who just enjoy mindless entertainment.
I consider it a decent time waster. It was a fun little time waster.
Sure. For time wasting, okay, I'll give you that. But when we're talking about having an actual experience watching a film, this is lackluster at best.
I will say it struck me very much because Alexandra Daddario, lead actress in the film, she was a child actress, and as she's come up, she had a particular image that she was maintaining. But I've noticed that there's been a twist in her career where she's definitely attempting to shed that image. It started with
puberty.
Exactly, yeah. And so she has definitely taken on roles that are more mature, that are typically more graphic, that are definitely more challenging, and don't fall into the stereotype that she was being slid into. So I do admire the taking on different stuff, but it did kind of feel like a Alexandra Daddario vehicle in order to help her shed that squeaky clean girl next door image that she was developing so much.
But didn't she already do that in that Rock movie, San Andreas?
Not really, because not really. She was the Rock's daughter. I mean,
yeah,
that's pretty much it.
She was just like the girl in distress.
Yeah,
like the damsel in distress. Basically, it.
That's I have to say, she was plot vehicle. She was plot vehicle in that one. She's
plot vehicle in this one too.
She was just driving the plot jeep. That's all she was doing. Hey,
that's all she's doing. She's literally driving the plot jeep in this one.
Well, I mean, but I think this was a vehicle that she took specifically to help her shed that image.
And I get it. Look, I don't have a problem with performance. Like all the players did a very good job. The performances are excellent. It's just the movie itself, the story, everything about it. It's terrible. I mean, and my wife looked at me when I told her about this film, and I said, "Hey, look, I figured this thing out." And she was like, "Yeah, but you do that with all these movies."
Yep.
I said, "No, it's not like that. It's like I feel like anybody could sit down here and pay attention just a little bit and figure this whole movie out. Like the second they showed Johnny Knoxville, I was like, okay, cool. This is it right here. Boom, boom, boom. I don't know if we're supposed to do spoilers or not, but you know what? Fuck it. This movie's 2 years old. The second I saw Johnny Knoxville, I was like, yep, that's the bad guy. The second. And he shows up in the first, 3 minutes?
It's kind of obvious.
Right. And then
he's Johnny Knoxville. So.
He's Johnny Knoxville, right? So why else would you have him in this part unless it's for a certain reason? And then when the Alexandria's character watching us, oh, okay, cool, that's her daddy, and he's the one orchestrating all these killings. And these girls are not real. These girls are just a bunch of Jesus freaks trying to do this, that, and the other to get people to go back to Jesus. It was bad. It was so telegraphed. You might as well just wrote it on crayon in the bottom of the film.
Well,
hey, this is what we're gonna do.
It also lends itself because it can be said that you mentioned the film itself and the story. Now,
right.
Stylized versions of Satanism exist, kind of like Satanism is an old trope, is a very, very old trope in film.
Right.
I mean, hell, the very first horror film ever made was House of the Devil, made in 1898. So, the curiosity is I would say the curious thing is that obviously the societal viewpoint of Satanism has changed very much over the decades. When it was brought up in, say, the 60s, the 70s, some of the 80s, maybe even before that, it was a very, very dark and very serious subject matter. So, like, you look at The Exorcist, you look at The Omen, you look at the majority of possession flicks that came out, Rosemary's Babies, The Bad Seed. Stuff like that. You're looking at, when they look at the concept of the devil, they look at the concept of demonic possession, or when you get into the realms of Satanism, the subject matter was always treated with a sort of reverence, that this is something very scary that we're dealing with. And you could tell that the filmmakers themselves, if they, most likely they were religious at the time, that they're dealing in a subject matter that is going to freak out audiences. And they're paying respect. By paying respect to the subject matter, they're also paying respect to the religion as well, to like Christianity or Catholicism, whatever. But today, 2020, Satanism, in my viewpoint, has become kind of slapsticky,
Mm-hmm. And I will say that this movie, that's one thing this movie does really well. The commentary on Satanism is, I think it's spot on, because it is treated with a sort of slapstick, reckless nature that probably mirrors more what people think of Satanism now versus what they did back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and maybe even as early as, or as late as the late 90s, early 2000s. Because if you look at like all the Stigmata stuff that came out in late 90s, early 2000s, Blair Witch and all that other kind of supernatural but more spiritual natural type things, it's definitely become less of a ooh type thing and more of, it's treated, in this film, it's treated very slapstick.
True. Yeah. There's a goofiness to it.
It's kind of just more exposure to even certain types of, because I started to think stuff like House of Thousand Corpses, where you have like Dr. Satan kind of thing, and you start like even more extreme films have become more mainstream.
Yeah.
On it. Yeah. So going back to this film and the fact even just talking about Satanism isn't enough for a film to be extreme now.
So does it fall into the category of stuff of kind of like shock rockers? Obviously, there was a time when Elvis Presley shocked audiences, and then of course you ramp it up and you go a little bit more. Then you've got like Kiss, and you've got AC/DC, and you've got the Rolling Stones, and fucking you have for the Guar, and then Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, and so it keeps getting more and more. But eventually we desensitize to it. So given the extreme, when we go back to the 80s and the satanic panic that occurred in the 80s,
right,
that got so blown out of proportion, it became a national kind of epidemic. People were freaking the fuck out all over the place. Maybe it kind of desensitized the nation to it. Maybe they realized, well, nothing was really happening. No evidence came of it. We all freaked out about nothing. And then all of a sudden, people didn't look at Satanism the same way. It was like, it burst out there. Everybody freaked out. And then they realized that they freaked out over nothing. And now we can go back and we can look at Satanism, not through the same lens. Now it's not as scary as it was. We can deal with it. We got through the extreme fear that Satanists were hiding around every corner, stealing our children. That's not happening. So all of a sudden, okay, but now we're kind of desensitized to the nature of it, and it becomes more of a kind of throwaway trope. Oh, I hate weekend Satanists, don't you? That kind of shit, and just where it's something silly that you can just throw in there.
Well, you also got to look at the generational gap, because when you have the satanic panic, and say in the 80s, most of those people were in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're talking about the 80s 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the adults today were the young kids listening to that music, watching those films, and they're the ones going, well, you know what? My parents are scared of it. I watched it, and I came out okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried. Well, it's just like the internet becoming big. Oh man, be so scared of the internet. But when you get the generation that grows up with it, you're like, no, it's just part of life.
That's one big point. Is in the late 80s and the early 90s, techno horror was becoming a thing. Like technology run amok, and that was it. That was kind of like and then we got a lot of techno horror movies, especially overseas, like Japan and Korea. Especially foreign films were big on the uncertain future of where technology is heading.
Right.
But now we have generations that have grown up with it. We have people living now that never knew a world without the internet. Unlike us, we're a bunch of old fucking fogies. And
called flurfs.
Yeah, we knew what the world was like with no fucking internet. Yeah, but I find it interesting that Satanism has kind of fallen away. Even religion in general, like religious films, even they are kind of like, it's almost like something. It's just become a trope. It's not something that we shoot or use subject matter in reverence anymore. It's just like it's something to drive the story along, and the fact that attitudes can change like that is always interests me. That's why I love this genre so much, because we see that as the next generation adapts to it, horror continuously has to evolve in order to improve upon itself and still go for the shocks.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
No, definitely. On top of that.
So that brings me. Wait, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So that brings me. I want to ask the audience, for all you horror fans out there who have seen all the horror movies you've seen, what is your favorite horror movie that involves Satanism, that has Satanism in it? It could be demonic possession, it could be satanic possession, whatever. What is your favorite one? Hit us up in the comments in the live chat, or shoot in the comments in the video, okay? Or hit us up, weekendhorror@gmail.com. We'd love to interact with you guys. This is awesome. We get to interact with you directly. This is a lot of fun for us. So, let us know your favorite horror, your favorite Satanism horror film. But we'd love to know. Eugene, you've got the next one. Take us in. What do we got?
All right. So for our next film, we have Desolation, which was released December 15th, 2017. And it was directed by Sam Patton and stars, and if I butcher the name, I apologize already. We have Toby Nichols, Jamie Page, Alicia Oches?
Osh.
Oches? Osh.
We'll go with
Okay,
Osh.
Alicia Osh. And basically, what ends up happening is it's about a mother who goes and takes her father's ashes out to the woods, into the remote area, and they begin to get followed by a lone like hitchhiker, and then shit gets crazy. It's really crazy.
It always gets crazy.
Then shit gets real. I'm always interested in, especially when we have films that are kind of like out in the woods, because it adds that nature element to it, kind of thing. And so it's always something that's kind of appealed to me.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I just feel like this movie could have been much more than what it was. It was what, hour and 15 minutes long?
Yeah, it was.
It was too short for it to be a good slow burn, which is what it was trying to do. And when it got to the meat and potatoes, the action-y type portion of it, it just didn't work for me. There wasn't enough effective slow burn. Like this guy in the woods did not scare me at all. It's the middle of the night and you're wearing glasses. That's not very practical.
Yeah, this is true. Wearing the sunglasses this night I was kind of like, and not to mention, I get having the sunglasses and having the kind of shaded sunglasses. Oh, they were kind of red, I think, or they had kind of a reddish, reflective quality to them, so that they could catch like the firelight and make him seem otherworldly or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, visually, it's kind of striking, and especially in the woods at night when basically how light plays in the darkness of the outdoors, especially from firelight or from a flashlight or from the moon.
right.
You have fixed positions of the light, and I liked how it played in the shadows. The use of light and shadow in the film, especially because you're outside in the woods at night, was interesting. I dug that. I like how that can create a very, very creepy and claustrophobic atmosphere, even though you're in the wide outdoors.
Right. That is one cool thing that what you bring up there is the claustrophobic feeling of the film, even though it's again in the wide open woods, so to speak. I look at this bad guy and I can't think of any motivation, right? So there's no real motivation for this bad guy other than he's there and they're there. And sometimes that works, but I don't feel like this movie fleshed that out enough to make it work. Because they show him in the very beginning of the film, kid sees him across the way and waves at him. And then you see him a few times variously throughout this very short film, and then he's dead. Okay, we're done.
Oh, yeah. The film did feel disjointed. It really did. Like, it wasn't 100% sure what kind of film it wanted to be.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Is this supposed to be like a supernatural type thing? Is this like a supernatural stalker? But no, he was killed just by, being bludgeoned to death by someone who was asking his mommy if she smoked 20 minutes ago in the movie. It was, I don't know, this movie was just tough for me to get into because, I mean, it wanted to be, I like minimalist horror. It's probably my favorite genre in horror films, but this one here was just, it was trying to be minimalist and it was trying to be, I don't know, it just didn't work. A lot of it didn't work. There are too many plot holes. Too many plot holes in the film.
I see what you did there.
I just couldn't get behind it. Although, what's her name did look like Brie Larson's sister. They could be sisters.
Yeah, she really did. You're talking about the friend.
Right. No, the mom.
Oh, talking about the mom?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she didn't have blonde hair, so I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah. Like if you were to take Brie, just look at like the facial features. They do look like they could be sisters. I thought that's who it was at first.
It's really, really interesting. Well, I thought the acting between the trio was decent, and it was fucking Claude Duhamel who played the hiker, the creepy hiker in the woods. And I like the acting between the trio. I thought the kid was appropriately obnoxious, given all the shit's going on. If my 13-year-old kid beat a bad guy to death with a rock, I actually would be like, hell yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, I would be proud.
But I think where the film was disjointed, it didn't know what kind of movie it wanted to be. It didn't know if it wanted to be like the stalker thriller or the kind of survival of the fittest exploration, or it didn't want to be a splatterfest. It didn't want to be like high body count or like that, because we only have 4 people in this entire film.
Right.
And it spent a lot of time on character development. Like, we have a lot of exposition about these characters and where they're going. So I'm kind of, the one thing that got me was the technical aspects of the film. The cinematography and the use of lighting, the use of sound were really, really well done.
Yeah.
And I think, and to a degree, make up for a lot of the failings of the film. It allowed me to accept some aspects of what doesn't make sense. Like, for example, we were watching this movie. I actually showed this movie on the Week in Horror Discord in the theater. We actually showed it last night, and PhD Tony was in there with us, and he pointed out something very, very important, that if you're paying attention to it, there's a lot of mistakes made, because in the story, the dad is an outdoorsman. That's the reason they're taking his ashes out. He's died of cancer, and they're taking his to spread his ashes out in his at his favorite view, because he loved to go hiking, and this was like his favorite view. So they're going to spread his ashes, and then they're going to hike back. And he supposedly, the dad taught him all this stuff about being outdoors and hiking and being safe on the trail. And there were small mistakes, like when the mom gets out of her tent. One of the mornings, the mom wakes up, she gets out of her tent, and she just she's looking for her son. She's like, Sam, where are you? And she just puts her shoes on that have been outside, just puts them on without checking them first. That's not something that you do. And there's little things like that, little details in that they failed to pick up on, which do kind of take you out. And not to mention, spatially, the film really didn't work, because the girlfriend gets grabbed and taken away. They freak out. They decide to hike on. They don't stop to eat because he's taken all their food. So they trek on, and then all of a sudden, the guy who we never see run manages to catch up with them that night, steal the mom, make it back to his campsite. And the spatial, by that point, I'm assuming the filmmakers thought that we would be so invested in the film that we wouldn't notice these things, or they could easily pass them off. But unfortunately, no.
Yeah, but they didn't give us enough to be invested in.
This is true.
There was not enough time spent building the characters. Like, I didn't give a shit that the friend was taken. Like, okay, cool, whatever. There was no investment. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, even the mother-son relationship, we were just starting to get invested in that before all the shit started happening. Then you're like, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. Can we? I mean, serious. I feel like that was a really big missed opportunity to get us invested in those characters.
And see, that's the one thing with minimalist horror is that it puts that much more power on characterization to nail it. Because I was trying to remember what was the film we talked about where it was the mom and daughter and the car broke down on the road. And you have the monster.
The monster.
The monster.
Yeah, it's monster. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking something like that where it's another minimalist horror film, but it's easy to get invested in those characters, and it had several powerful themes throughout, to things such as like addiction and how it can take over your life. So that film works on like multiple levels. Plus, on top of that, cinematography is just amazing. Shooting out in the dark woods. On top of that, you have to focus on characters. You have to let them grow. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some real missed opportunities there. If it was going to be a slow burn, I feel like it needed another 20 minutes to get to that slow burn spot where we could actually get invested in these characters. Like there was that moment where the friend was able to redirect the kid's outburst with chocolate. It was like, okay, we're starting to get invested, and then now they're going to go drink. Like, what the fuck? You were starting something amazing, and then you just abandon it and went out to do something different. Like, come on, man, that's something right. That stuff right there will make or break a slow burn horror film, because we have to be invested in the characters. Otherwise, we just don't give a shit.
we don't care about their deaths, and we don't care about the guy who's killing them, especially. And while there was a lot about the movie I did enjoy, the one thing that I thought was the worst one is that he's had these sunglasses on all day, all night. That's what he wears. He's covering his eyes up. There's a reason he keeps them on, like whatever. And then the sunglasses come off, and he's just a person. Now, that worked two ways for me. One, I was like, there's nothing there. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's just a guy. This is just person-on-person violence. This is just wrong place, wrong time, which, unfortunately, at the World, that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's probably more realistic than anything.
Right. Just, you happen to... The odds are you go out in the woods, especially by yourself, you're not going to encounter a crazy person. But... you could encounter a crazy person, and all of a sudden you're days away from anybody who could potentially help you. So I dug that, and I also like I said, I enjoyed the film technically. I thought they captured the setting very, very well. Capturing the woods, capturing the outdoors, the great outdoors on film, and still delivering a claustrophobic experience. Not realizing you can't just run off and take off. You are stuck where you are. You're stuck where your supplies are. You're stuck where your tent is. It's dark out there. You can't just go anywhere. Being an avid outdoorsman myself, and having, I went through Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've been on hundreds.
Being a bear doesn't count. Doesn't make you an outdoorsman.
But having been on hundreds of camping trips, I've been out in some extremely remote areas. I've been up in the mountains of New Mexico. I've been out on the Cimarroncito. Where there is nothing, where it is literally thousands of acres of nothing, just wild, just untamed wilderness. You can't just, like, if there's a crazy person, you can't just run off into the darkness. You're gonna die. So I like that there was a good sense of I almost said not a good sense of urgency, but a good sense of the space that the filmmakers made very, very good use of the environment itself. Very atmospheric, very, very creepy. Being trapped when you could technically run wherever, but still trapped. I love that nature against person. It makes for really, really interesting narratives. I just wish the film knew what the fuck it wanted to be.
I agree.
Gotta have vision. Gotta have it.
Yeah, I feel like that could have been the fifth character. The nature could have been the fifth character, and the most menacing part about the whole ordeal. And they touched on it a little bit, but again, it just wasn't fleshed out.
When the kid's mom disappears,
right?
And then the kid is like wandering around, like trying to look for her, and then and then there's that moment where obviously he hasn't caught up with the mom yet, because the mom takes off, he runs, and they get separated. Then all of a sudden he's out there in the woods,
and they're both looking for each other.
They're both looking for each other, and probably in reality, they're probably circling one another, and then the kid just lays down and cries. That is realistic. That is what happens.
Yeah, but it happened too quick, right? So he lays down and cries, and then all of a sudden, here's mom. Like, okay, God, can we get invested?
Yeah, exactly. Things just moved too quick. Like I said, it was disjointed. The film didn't know what it wanted to be. If it had stuck with 2 or 3 of these concepts and run with them, this would have been an undiscovered gem.
Yep.
One of those.
I feel like the movie really needed another 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah, more time.
And see, I'm curious if that's like maybe just editing, maybe just bad pacing and editing, or if it was maybe a lack of coverage or a budget run out or something like that. It paced faster. Like maybe they only had X amount of days because they were only able to shoot X amount of footage. I always think about stuff like this when I watch films. And I'm curious if this was maybe what they envisioned in the end, or if this was like we're talking with Neil and Host, where Host was a film of safety shots. Is this what the director actually envisioned, or was this basically the best that he could get?
I think I would like to attribute it to when things like this happen. I think it's because of budgetary constraints. It was a low budget film. You only have 4 people in the cast. No one else shows up. There's not a hint of anything. You have scant, like literally no clothing changes. You've got a couple of sets that could actually double for one another. Because a couple of like campsites that you could literally double them up. So budgetary wise, the film was not expensive to shoot. The most expensive thing on that thing was the camera they shot with, because it was very clean. Yeah, the equipment they had was very, very strong. But I think budgetary wise, they didn't have the time, or quite possibly they could only get a permit for a specific amount of time to shoot in that national park. It's kind of like, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going to shoot. And when you're in a national park, you do have to avoid people. You do have to rope sections off. You got to make sure no hikers or other campers come through your area. And that takes time. That takes permits. They may have only had a permit for a set amount of time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we got to wrap this up because and unfortunately we ran out of time.
Yeah,
that happens sometimes.
And so
It could have been they're fighting nature as well.
Yeah, they're fighting nature as well.
What they probably did, I'm not for certain on this, but they probably booked that park for downtime when there's a lot of weather change and whatnot.
And
that's how you kill the conversation.
But I mean, the wilderness is always so difficult to shoot because first of all, the weather has to cooperate.
Yep.
And if, say, you're shooting in a national park during its downtime, where it could be hot one day, cold the next day, but in your script day-wise, it's supposed to be the same day and make it look the same. Well, it's hard when, okay, your last shot you got sunny and now it's raining today, so you're usually trying to change and shoot something else, or a part where it's actually raining, or you may just have to just burn the entire day off of that. Well, the weather's not cooperating, we can't shoot today.
Yep.
And that actually happens in a lot of films, like The Revenant in 1917, where like they have to sit and basically wait around for the weather. They would wait like a week and film like one day out of a week because the weather wouldn't cooperate.
It happened a bunch on Pirates of the Caribbean. They had to push days because storms would show up. I mean, shooting out in the ocean, it happens. So,
it just happens. But actually, what I like to ask, since we've been talking about wilderness, what is everybody's favorite wilderness horror film on it? It's something don't see too many, maybe just because of the difficulty it is to shoot out there.
Yes.
But there are a couple out there. I know we just mentioned a couple just now. So yeah, what's your favorite wilderness horror film? Let us know.
And while
message below.
Yeah, while people are looking up their answers or getting their answers in on this one, I kind of want to go back to the chat and check in with everybody. Let's see. We asked, what is everybody's favorite Satanist or satanic horror film? We got PhD Tony says The Wicker Man. Pagan horror, but yeah, that could be included.
Wait, which Wicker Man?
Oh, I'm assuming the original
Bees.
Man, not
the
Bees.
Not
the Bees.
Dark Steve 84 says Hellraiser. Definitely. Catnip Entertainment says The Exorcist. Dark Steve.
Hellraiser is not a Satanist film. It's nihilistic.
No, it's nihilistic. I would say, yeah. Theoretic says Army of Darkness. Just kind of and PhD Tony says, to clarify, Edward Woodward's The Wicker Man. So yes, the original. PhD Tony says Johnny O is a harsh judge. Films can be imperfect, but still respectable. This is true, absolutely. But Johnny, you are a harsh judge. That's why we like having you.
Sometimes.
Jessica G says, PhD Tony, well, his alter ego of the plot hole is the devil's advocate.
But it's fun.
And PhD Tony says the bad guy looked a bit like Irish Demon. And yes, he did. That kind of shocked me. He did look a bit like Irish Demon. And Jessica G says a bear shitting on a wall looks like Irish Demon. Ha ha! That makes sense. Let's see. And then, of course, Dark Steve 84 brings up Prince of Darkness. And hell yes, Prince of Darkness. Hail John Carpenter and the Apocalypse Trilogy. It's just, I got to have a church to scare me. I agree with that, Dark Steve. Jessica G says she has never seen The Exorcist. Fun fact. Wow, that's impressive. That is really impressive. I do recommend.
You gotta watch it.
I do.
Hey, Jessica G, Eugene would be happy to take you to your first screening of. The Exorcist.
Yep, and then you can show her your crucifix. And of course, I recommend if you dig these types of movies, this subgenre film, satanic possession or like that, check out the movie The Cleansing Hour. Strongly recommended. Very, very surprisingly good movie. Let's see. PhD Toy says The Thing, Prince of Darkness, In the Mouth of Madness, or Carpenter's Apocalypse Trilogy. Boom. Yes. Let me see what else. We're going and And Jessica G says, I'm starting to gather that Tony is quite the Satanist. Maybe. We don't know. Possible. But yes, definitely, Jessica G. Check out The Exorcist. I think that you will love it. Eugene will happily take you to see The Exorcist. He'll bring the DVD over, and then he'll show you where to put the crucifix. That'll be great.
I just was like, had a DVD hand. I would be like, The Exorcist right here. Or just Photoshop it. The Exorcist right here.
Awesome. Oh, you know what? Jessica G's got a very good point. We could do The Exorcist in the theater. I could show The Exorcist in the theater. I will most likely try to show the one that has all the footage restored in it, so we can get the best experience. I will give you guys a heads up. The next movie that we'll be showing in the theater will be Southbound. So Southbound in the theater. We're trying to work on getting a set schedule when we can have movie night in our Discord so everybody can come and join us instead of it being so sporadic, but we will get there. Part of it is, Weekend Horror has expanded to the point where it's kind of colliding with my day job, and I handle so much on this side that it's kind of like that I'm in a tug of war between the two. That's a good thing for Weekend Horror, not so much good for my day job, but what are you going to do? So we're going to figure it out. We will try and get a set schedule going for movies in the theater in the Weekend Horror Discord. Link for that will be in the description. Boom. Let's carry on. We have got 2 more movies. Johnny, you're up next.
Yes.
Wait, before we go. So we will do an Exorcist showing in the chat for the month of December.
Well, it is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Oh, man.
I feel bad that you've got this one, Johnny. I really do.
Why?
Because
I didn't get to watch it. That's why.
You didn't get to see it.
I didn't get to see it. I've seen this before. It's been so long. So back in 1992, we have an American horror film called Hellmaster, directed and written by Douglas Schultz, starring the amazing John Saxon. So basically, we have a psychotic college professor who creates a drug and uses that to mutate his students into killers. What could go wrong with that?
Sounds like a perfectly good day to or perfectly good way to utilize the student bodies.
I see what you did there.
Oh man, I gotta go. You brought him. I gotta give love. John Saxon. I mean,
yep.
So many people. I mean, I guarantee you, many people out there would recognize his face, but few would know his name. You've seen him in so many things. He's a fantastic character actor. Love the stuff he does, and in this movie, he is appropriately just off the fucking walls, crazy. Especially after he goes into all monster form when he reaches his final form.
Yep.
Shit is fucking hilarious. He is great. He's probably the best thing about the movie because it's not so. It's bad, but I mean, it's good. John Saxon is a lot of fun to watch, and I really enjoy when he shows up. He was Nancy's father in Nightmare on Elm Street. For those who, if you could kind of picture him there, because in this film, he spends most of the time, towards the end of the he's done up. His face is all fucked up, and he's in heavy makeup. But I actually dig Hellraiser because not
Hellraiser.
Oh, sorry, Hellmaster. My
bad. Different film.
Damn you, Jessica G. You got that shit on my fucking mind now. But I actually dig Hellmaster because the performance of John Saxon. But I love the evil scientist trope. It is also tried to since Shelley's Frankenstein, since Universal decided they wanted to adapt the play that was an adaptation from the book. Boris Karloff, of course, Victor Frankenstein, the evil scientist, bringing shit back to life. Love
Frankenstein.
Oh yes, it's pronounced Igor. I absolutely adore the evil science deal. It's one of the oldest tropes out there, and it's some works about it because technology run amok, in any way, or say science run amok is always a fun place to go because that's why we have movies like Splice. We have movies like The Matrix. Technology run amok in The Matrix. So genetics run amok in Splice. There's so many I could possibly name them all, but I'd like this one because it's an entry in there. Evil scientist experiments on the students, turns them into fucking monsters, and of course he's a part of the eugenics project. is what it is. So I think he was he's part of a secret government. See, now we have government conspiracies as well. This thing is fucking great. It's got everything. It's got mutants. It's got bloodshed. It's gory. It's got evil scientists. It's got evil government, secret government conspiracies to like cull the population. Brilliant shit. How could you say no? Like, how could you say no to this?
So it checks all the boxes off for
It does.
Oh yeah, because the thing is with technology is kind of, since it's always changing, it's always something that's relevant for horror films. It just kind of evolves. So first you got like the creation of life. We talk about Frankenstein. We get to the atomic age and the giant bugs and insects and stuff. That's still technology.
Oh yeah. The fear of nuclear, of like the effects of radiation and shit like this. We have like nuclear horrors, and then we get like Them. I think Them was a good one. Yeah.
With Them, and as it continues to progress, we start getting into things like the internet and computers and all those other kinds of stuff, and what can computers and robots do? Shopping mall, Terminator, all those things.
fucking killbots.
I love shopping mall. I love it.
Have a nice day.
On top of it.
Oh yeah. Charlie Welch brings up fucking Skynet, the Terminator.
Don't forget about Stepford Wives.
Yeah.
And the original, not the Nicole Kidman, goofy. That one was stupid. That one was fucking creepy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yep, that part where that lady she like meets the Stepford Wife version of herself, and the Stepford Wife version of herself grows bigger tits right in front of her. Like, oh, this is weird.
I particularly love it just because scientists are supposed to it's the white coat.
Right.
It's the white coat effect. That those who wear white coats are to be trusted. Those who wear white coats have the advancement, have your health in mind. They have the advancement of humanity in mind. They have protocols they adhere to, like the Hippocratic Oath or the scientific ethics. That's who these people are. The people in white coats are meant to help us. And when you make them the bad guy, that throws everything out the window. And that's why I dig this. That science too far cannot be trusted. Medicine too far cannot be trusted. That these people are given so much power, and then they were so busy thinking whether or not they didn't stop to think that they should. I love that whole concept is what gets me, is turning the what's supposed to be the good guy, the one who's supposed to be looking out for you, the one who's supposed to teach you, to guide you, that's the villain.
And I think that's like the beauty part about this trope. Right, so science is neither good nor evil, right? It's just a search for stuff, the search for things. What can we figure out? Sometimes it'll be dangerous. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it's benign.
And that's true, because that's actually how James Cameron got Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Terminator, because Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't turn it down, actually, because first of all, him still being new to the country, he didn't want to come across as a villain right off the bat. And you're not good or evil.
I mean,
you're just a robot programmed to do something.
You look fucking scary.
Exactly.
especially when you start cutting shit off yourself. But I dig it. I've always dug that concept of that, and it played very much in the 90s. The 90s was a big time, where obviously because of the advent of the internet, with connectivity growing at an exponential rate, and computers, just like every 6 months a new one comes out that's almost twice as powerful as the previous one. I think it was probably in the probably 92, 93, in between 90 and 1995. Is when this started happening. And of course, as horror has always been kind of a barometer for the anxieties of the nation, we got a ton of 90s science horror. What could possibly come from this? What could happen? I mean, 1992 was we got Terminator 2. We got a sequel to one of the best sci-fi horror films ever made. So it was good in the 90s.
And somehow it managed to do better than the first one.
Yes. It did. Well, I mean,
yeah.
It's James Cameron. It's gonna do better than whatever.
I don't know. I think Aliens was not as good as Alien, but that's neither here nor there.
I think two ideologies. There's two separate ideologies.
Sure.
Alien, because obviously Terminator was an action film. It was a horror sci-fi with heavy action. Terminator 2, not so much the horror elements anymore, but sci-fi action. Still sci-fi, still action. Whereas Alien was claustrophobic, confinement, the unknown, the creature you only glimpse in the darkness. Whereas Aliens, straight up horror action, big time. Lots of guns, lots of deals, but even your guns won't fucking save you. And then of course Alien Queen and shit. All
that kind of stuff. Well, because on top of that, because Alien, you look at the first Alien, Alien's a slasher movie. The very first one, you had the one creature, it picked them off one by one. It's a slasher film. It really is. Whereas the second one is just more actiony.
Is it a slasher film though?
But I think when you
I actually think
it follows the trope. Even you have the final girl.
I guess.
I actually would. I think it does have. I mean, obviously, the sci-fi and the horror are there, but I think it can be put into the subgenre of the slasher film because instead of just a slasher with a knife, Michael Myers or Jason, we have the alien. We don't really see it that often. We typically see only parts of it, like hands coming out or a tail or like movement in the background that's out of focus. So we get these moments, these setup moments. We do have the jump scares. Like the close-up shots of somebody dying, like, when the dude gets it in the head when he's looking for the cat, like an idiot. And then we have the final girl.
How is he supposed to know there was a freaking 6-foot tall alien in there?
How come people don't know there's Jason there? That part doesn't matter. But it does. It follows the formula. It's just set in space and you have a creature instead of a man walking around on it. But the thing about the 90s is the 90s was such a technology shift to the point where it became fast. And it was about computers. What could science possibly do? The thing about robots is in the 80s, everybody thought robots was going to be the next big thing. The problem with robots is robots are expensive to make and maintain, whereas a computer isn't. And that's where the shift in the 90s becomes what can people do with the computer on top of that. And that's what you have a re-interest in the Terminator series. You even get things like Jurassic Park, because Jurassic Park is a horror film. It's a fun family horror film, but it is a horror film on it.
Yeah, you can't have arms falling out of crevices and shit and not think it's not a horror film.
People are trying not to be eaten in that film on it.
Yeah, what happened to Dennis Nedry?
Steve Spielberg does it.
What happened to Nedry? That was horrific. Dilophosaurus in the car.
Yes, that was.
You're done.
Yeah. But we start seeing this push, and it started off with kind of a focus on PC and what science can do PC, and then towards the end of the decade, it started going towards the internet and what things could people do on the internet? Could they lead somebody somewhere?
Sandra Bullock
the net.
Yeah.
And what was that? Was it a film with D. Snyder? Was it Strangeland?
Strangeland with D. Snyder.
Yeah, Strangeland, when he used the internet to lure people into his dungeon. Yep. I mean, it follows right along with that.
The internet was fucking scary. I'm trying to imagine if you took what we know about the internet now and try to tell people in the 90s what it was going to become, they'd never leave their homes. No. They'd never buy a computer again. But back then, like the idea, anonymous chat room, that was creepy. People were like, "What do you mean? Well, we don't know. We have screen names. We don't use our real names, so you don't know who you're talking to." Well, no, it could be a fucking freak. It could be this whatever, a psychopath over there. Well, I don't know. His name is Fluffy Bunny 87.
ASL and in the chat, yeah, people are ASL, yeah. And ICQ and Yahoo Chat and all those kind of things. But you're right. When you talk about, if you told people in the 90s, listen, there will be a device on your phone that can call a stranger to your house, so you can get in the car alone with them, and they'll take you somewhere. People would be like, what the fuck? No, it's Uber.
Yeah.
Right.
Like nowadays, it's like, hey, I'll need a ride. I got an Uber. No
Yeah,
problem.
see, it's kind of funny you say that because, like, in the 70s, there was that hitchhiker scare, right? Because of the hitchhiker.
Yes.
And then
The Hitcher, yeah. I do
the
remember
hitcher,
that.
yeah. So if you start telling people, hey, look, technology, you'll be able to make a phone call and somebody in a car will come up and pick you up and take you where you go. And no, the fuck they won't.
And of course, we do have there is a recent horror film that just it just recently released. It stars one of the older kids from Stranger Things, where it's basically a guy he becomes essentially an Uber driver. It's not for Uber. It's a fictional company, but he becomes a rideshare driver, and he videotapes himself murdering, like he live streams himself murdering his occupants in order to get fame. But no one believes he's actually doing it. So shit gets crazier and crazier and crazier as he's attempting to gain like internet notoriety for using the internet and instant live internet celebrity to murdering his fucking the people who come with him. He ends up doing like one person, then he ends up doing a couple, then he ends up doing like I think there's like 4 people in the car, and he winds up, and it just gets crazier and crazier. But I've always dug that as technology jumps, because we will see jumps every few decades. There'll be a big one. Like right now,
it's happening faster and faster, right?
Yeah,
so if you look at if you look at technology from pre-90, right? If you look at 1990 and back, right? What was the biggest like technological jump that we had? Was it the Industrial Revolution?
I think so, yeah.
If you think outside the 90s, I would probably do Industrial Revolution, as long as it was influenced by war. Because there's a lot of things like in World War I and World War II.
Sure.
But other than that, then Industrial Revolution, yeah.
Oh, so you got the Industrial Revolution.
We want to throw some love out there in the chat real quick. Hey, Crafty Keela, thank you so much for popping by. Love you. It's 3:30 a.m. where she is, and she popped in to say hi. So thank you so much. Johnny, please continue.
Oh, what I was saying, if you look at it, so you have the Industrial Revolution, and then look how fast we thought they progressed since then until about the 90s when we had the advent of the internet and computers. Well, not those things being more readily available to the common person. And we see how quickly we have progressed, at least technologically, from 1990 till now, 30 years. So much faster than we did the previous, 100?
Oh yeah. It's just jumped.
We're getting to the point now. Yeah, we're getting to the point now, because technology is so readily available. All it takes is somebody with a computer that can build an app that can change the world, or build a website.
Right.
And they can go ahead and do the research. Where a lot of times you had to either come from a wealthy family or go to a prestigious school, and even have an opportunity to put something together that could be impactful. Or you have the guys that created YouTube, or a bunch of brothers in a dormer. Like it's just that you think of these programs that people have access to, and it just takes one person. I got an idea for something. Boom, $1 billion idea changed the world now.
And of course horror has followed that trend. Like obviously, as the new thing pops up, as smartphones began to explode, we already have had a horror film shot completely on cell phone, completely on the iPhone, iPhone 12 or iPhone 11, I think.
It was 11, yeah.
It was the iPhone 11, shot completely on the iPhone 11. I think the very first one that was Unsane. And then, of course, before that, there were plenty of live stream horror films, like horror films that take place from our perspective, where something's going on in the background and something happens to me, and then so on and so forth. We've got that stuff. Then, of course, you had social media horror, which was, like Unfriended. And the spattering of that. Then there was like the email chain letter. There was a horror movie about that. I think called Chain Letter.
Yep.
It's fucking ridiculous. Although some brutal fucking kills in that one.
There were a lot of blood.
And then of course video gaming of that, like Stay Alive. And so as technology is advanced, obviously, as it moves faster, humanity will, as we're kind of unprepared for it, humanity will, or I say at least our nation, will have some sort of anxiety about it. We will always get horror films as the new technology comes out. because obviously we started breaching into genetics when CRISPR-9 hit the deal. The first whisperings of that, we got the horror movie Splice. So playing around with genetics and trying to hybridize humans and making crazy weird shit like that. And of course, even before then, when Dolly the sheep was cloned, then we had stuff like Species, with Natasha Henstridge, and like combining and then like cloning DNA. It's just shit like that. I mean, all kinds of interesting and that's what I will always love. There will always be room for the evil scientist in horror. The person who's supposed to be leading us to the future is actually leading us over the fucking cliff. And I will always enjoy the kind of ideology of that sometimes the reach does exceed the grasp, and everyone's gonna go with it. So I've always dug it, and I'll always jump on movies that are like that.
Yep. So with that, keeping that 90s science horror trope in mind, we want to ask you, the audience, who is your favorite horror scientist, or what is your favorite horror science horror film? Leave us a comment in the comment section. Email us at weekendhorror@gmail.com, or live chat us. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, let's check in with the live chat. First, there's a bunch of people there's a bunch of things I want to go over, but first we got to say, what's up, Alex? Alex has joined the live chat. Thank you, sir. Yeah, it says we are looking good. Everyone's looking good, y'all. Alex, we hope you are feeling better. For everyone, for anyone in the chat not in the know, Alex and his entire household, his pregnant wife, and their 3 kids, all tested positive for COVID-19. And we were really concerned there for a bit. I think that they are over the worst of it, maybe. But I know that's Alex needed to take the time to rest up and get well. So we're glad to see him pop up. That means he must be doing okay. Dude, all the best to you. Hang in there. Need anything? Holler at us. Going back to the chat, let me see, because we asked what favorite wilderness horror, and so Peach says, define wilderness. Does The Descent count? The Thing? I like Ritual, Hostile, The Hole in the Ground. All of them good wilderness movies. Like The Thing takes place in Antarctica. That's pretty much the fucking wilderness.
That's a wilderness.
The Descent, deep down in a cave. Descent, one of my favorite films. Hostile, also, I think it was a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And The Hole in the Ground was basically out of the woods. It was a good changeling horror. It was pretty good. Peachy Joey says Nightingale is the best rape victim meets indigenous Australian wilderness horror film. Yes. I think Wolf Creek also plays into that because the brutal nature of the outback, and I love the camera work in that one, just showing how desolate and scary that place can actually be. Jessica G says, unpopular opinion, I liked Alien 3. Not so unpopular, Jessica, because I liked Alien 3 too.
Because it has a 3 in it.
Shut up.
David Fincher did not like that movie.
I enjoyed them. Even I like obviously Sigourney Weaver. Charles Dance is always great whenever he does. I love Charles S. Dutton. I've been a big fan of his. I like the concept of changing up the look of the alien. I like the streamlined design. I like breaching the deal that it takes on the genetic attributes of its host. So I dug that, and it's a risk. You have to take risks in filmmaking, and this was a risk in filmmaking. You changed the setting drastically. You changed the look of the monster. You changed the scope of the characters within the film. You've even changed the scope of the actor of Ripley. Like Ripley's entire persona has drastically changed after the events of the first film and the second film. It was a big risky movie, and I like risky movies. So I happen to dig it.
Yeah.
I dug it.
And they went more CGI as opposed to practical effects, which I didn't like that. I didn't like the cartoon Alien, but
But I did like that line. Who you think they give a fuck about a bunch of cons who found God at the ass end of space? I decided there's something about that line I always like. Sigourney Weaver just kicked ass. She kicked ass in that movie. That was great.
She did.
Let's see. Charlie Welch says Rutger Hauer was amazing in The Hitcher. Yes, he was. And you can tell in the remake of that with Sean Bean, with Sean Bean, or Sean Bon, however you want to pronounce it. And he does die in that, as classic Sean Bean films. But he patterned a lot of what he did off of Rutger Hauer. And I really, really like that. And because Rutger Hauer made that fucking movie. him and C. Thomas Howell were really good together, but I loved what Rutger Hauer brought to that. So yes, just want to Crafty. Thank you so much for popping by. Then of course, not a movie, but Jeff Roberts is not a movie, but Black Mirror has some great technology run amok episodes. Yes, if you have not checked out Black Mirror, definitely check that series out. It's on Netflix and it's fucking amazing. Also, Love, Death, and Robots. Check that series out too.
Yes, excellent series.
Yes, Love, Death, and Robots is amazing. Somebody mentioned Unsane. PhD Jones says Unsane was on iPhone 8s. You are correct. There was another one recently done that actually won an award. Or no. It was the highest grossing film during the pandemic. It was like the highest grossing film of like 1 month, and it was a horror film shot entirely on phones or something like that. It was and let's see, fairly like that. And then you hear that, Jessica G, Weekend Horror agrees with you. Goddamn right we agree with you. And of course, if you met Mad Scientist, then of course, Dark Steve 84 says, if you met Mad Scientist, then Tusk. I wouldn't necessarily call Howard in that movie a mad scientist, but maybe. He knew anatomy.
He turned into a walrus.
Turned the dude into a fucking walrus, so yeah.
That's pretty mad scientist-y.
That's pretty mad scientist-y, yeah. Damn, that whole process. Fucking Michael Parks was so stellar in that role. And of course Justin Long, I hated him so much. He was so obnoxious, and I'm like, but you don't want to see that happen to him. He was just like, he's so obnoxious, you just kind of want to walk away, but you don't want to see anything bad happen to him. And that obviously, I don't think he deserved that, but yeah, but Michael Parks was amazing as Howard, as the crazy serial killer. That one, it was a lot of fun. Oh shit!
All right, what do we got next? I think you're up,
yes,
JL.
we got one more film, and this is a little bit different than what we normally take, because this is the first animated film that we'll be talking about. It's an animated short film released December 17th, 1953. We have The Telltale Heart.
Yeah, buddy.
So, directed by Ted Parmalee and based on, obviously, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, screenplay by Bill Scott and Fred Grable, and narrated by James Mason. Legendary actor James Mason narrated this film. This film, banned in the UK, which I thought was pretty intense for an Edgar Allan Poe, for an Edgar Allan Poe story. It's not like they're that extreme, but this one was, because it was animated, and it was a pretty stellar retelling of the story. What it captured like that. Obviously, being an animated film, the UK was like, no, it violates our censorship laws. So, but an amazing little short film, and of course, a stellar narrator in James Mason. One of the best that I think Poe came up with. It is probably one of his most standout stories.
I think it's his most recognizable story outside of The Raven.
Yeah, I think probably if you look at A Telltale Heart, I would say would probably be the biggest. I think probably more people have heard of The Raven, but people are probably more familiar with what actually happens in A Telltale Heart than in The Raven. I love The Raven. It's probably my favorite poem of all time, but it's really hard to translate that on screen because so much is implied and also that kind of stuff. Where, I mean, Telltale Heart, we have the beating heart and the floorboard and all other kind of stuff. It's more cut and dry and easier to show.
You got the creepy old man with like the one good eye, and then the guy driven to just madness, having to deal with him, and then of course the police coming in, and so he's sitting here for it's getting to him, but the cops don't notice anything. They're just like, oh yeah, all is good, it's fantastic, this is great. He's like, and just either going insane or guilty or whatever like this. But the imagery in it is fantastic, and the descent into madness that Poe can encapsulate in a much more poetic way than say like Lovecraft or other writers at the time. But I really loved his Jessica G. No, Edgar Allan Poe is not the original Flurf. I swear to God, Jessica kills me.
That's funny.
But I do love I loved his poetic nature, and yeah, it does stand out. I mean, there are other stories like The Pit and the Pendulum and the Massacre at Death, Murders in the Rue Morgue, that are equally as good, but there's something about The Telltale Heart that just rings with people.
it's the first of all, I love Edgar Allan Poe because of how poetic he makes things. He has a sense of almost this romantic beauty, not romantic in the sense of love, but romantic in the sense of romanticism,
Right.
which is towards the fairy tale end of the way that he can put it. But at the same time, the story itself, it's simple and it's simple at the same time where it's easy to grasp and get a hold because you read something like say the Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh yeah.
I had to read it like 5 times to realize what the hell is going on.
Right.
It's good, or it's good. Don't get me wrong, it is. But I think read it the first time I was like 15. I was like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Whereas a Telltale Heart is something that's so easy to really jump into so well. Do I think it's his best work? No, I don't. But I think it's his work that's easy to translate to today. Where it's like somebody you can go, I'm going to go do a Telltale Heart movie, and everybody will know, oh, okay, well, we got an idea of already what's going to happen and all this kind of stuff. Doesn't matter.
You know, you say that, but indirectly, Mask of the Red Death has probably been the most made Poe film ever.
I do believe. I think the last time. I think well, as of recent, because the last thing I remember, I've seen Telltale Heart remake or done a few times in the past 20 or so years. But the last time I saw Mask of the Red Death, it was referenced in the John Cusack film The Raven, which is a good film. I recommend if you're a Poe fan, definitely check that one out. Yeah, it's John Cusack and Luke Evans.
But we're not calling it Mask of the Red Death when we're remaking it.
It was referenced in that, but the last time
No, I understand. But if you take a look at, well, hang on a second. If you take a look at the story there.
Oh, you're talking about like the narrative theme.
The narrative theme of Mask of the Red Death. We've seen that. I mean, especially in the horror trope.
Oh yeah, the theme definitely carries forward. I thought you were just talking about like telling the story itself. Because I think the last one was like legit was with Vincent Price.
Right.
Yeah. When they had him all done up in red. Which if you think about it, you have to see it. If you just think about it like a red Vincent Price, it seems kind of goofy, but the movie's actually quite good. But yeah, that trope of, I would say the death. It's hard to say. Why is it hard to put in words?
I don't know, but Mask of the Red Death isn't necessarily about death, but it's more about class.
Yeah, because you have the rich people who isolated themselves from the common folk who were dying from the disease.
From the plague, yes.
Yep. Yeah, they still die from the plague. So it's an interesting story on class. But we're talking about Telltale Heart. The thing that I get on a lot, I've been an Edgar Allan Poe fan since I was knee high to a duck. I've been reading Mask of the Red Death and Telltale Heart and Fall of the House of Usher and Raven ever since I think I picked up my first Poe book in the third, maybe the second grade. They had these like cartoony versions of Mask of the Red Death and Pit and the Pendulum. Those are the first two that I remember reading in the library. I was like, wow, this is fucking cool. Here's this story that didn't end well, right? It was not a happy ending. It was talking about something that happened in, like a real event that happened in the past, talking about the Black Plague. So amazing. And ever since then, I've been a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. But if you look at the Telltale Heart, there's so much that's going on there that people don't realize, well, not a lot of people realize that horror films today are not the same if we don't have Edgar Allan Poe. He has that big an influence on the horror genre specifically, especially when we're talking about the unreliable narrator.
Internalizing, or I would say the slow degrade into madness, internalizing trauma, especially amongst multiple people who do it differently. The unreliable narrator, of course, the subjective reality, projection of one's emotions into what you want or what you see. All of this stems from the macabre stories that he came up with. Even the more romantic ones, like Lenore. So it's like of loss, of the loss in the face of an uncaring universe. But
Annabelle
still, do what?
No, I was at Annabelle Lee when his wife died.
Yes, I mean, I thought that the movie The Raven with John Cusack, which is a horror film, I know it's on the list. I think we may have talked about it beforehand. But the movie The Raven was so good because I thought John Cusack was so brilliant as Poe and captured the way that we kind of imagined the guy would have been. It took away a lot of the fiction around him and the way people knew him like that. Of course, the unexplained circumstance. It fictionalized the events around his death because that's made up because we really don't know what happened to him, why he was found on that park bench. But the stuff that happened to him, the deaths of virtually every woman he's loved in his life. And then, of course, he's got this gift that's just quenched in darkness and tragedy. And this is the way it comes out. Really, really brilliant shit. That would set the tone. I mean, H.P. Lovecraft, one of my favorite authors, one of my most inspired authors. I mean, the dude looks over my shoulder every day. But Eve took inspiration from Poe. So
yep,
there is an enduring legacy that pretty much the entire horror genre would not be the same without. I mean, Stephen King takes inspiration from Poe.
Right.
Lovecraft did. Chambers did. Kuntz does. The horror as we know it today would not be the same without this individual, without this man. You are correct on that.
Absolutely, because he was doing stuff at the time that no one else was.
Right.
No, you had all these other kind of stories and art and authors that came out of time where you're thinking early to mid 1800s, you get the Romanticism and the end of like Rococo era and all sorts of kind of stuff. And then he comes along and is like, no, the universe isn't necessarily beautiful. Sometimes the universe does not care. And he dives into it. He does it in such a beautiful yet haunting way on it. And
that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, amazing.
And given that this one, I strongly recommend it. This film, you can actually find it. It's very easy to find. You can find it on pretty much any streaming service. I think you can actually find it on YouTube. James Mason's narration of the story was coupled with the very striking artwork used to depict the various scenes in this. It was absolutely brilliant. Way ahead of its time from 1953. This blew people's minds. Banned for a limited time in England and then in the United Kingdom, and then eventually given an X certificate. So the only animated film to ever receive an X certificate in the
That's hilarious because I watched that. Like I was telling you, I watched that in 3rd grade.
Yeah, they played it like on the TV in class.
Yeah.
It's wild. So I mean, just
we were watching X-rated films in school.
But it's such a fantastic. People are so familiar with the story. It's more you want the experience. You want to hear Mason's incredible narration, the way he captures the kind of like the creeping madness of the narrator in that. I definitely check it out. It's short. It's just the length of the story itself. So I think that you guys will really love it. But that brings me up. I want to ask the audience. There's so many out there, but what is your favorite Edgar Allan Poe adaptation? What film have you dug the most based off of his works? It could be any of them. Obviously, there's the Lance Henriksen, Pit and the Pendulum. Then there's stuff like, The Mask of the Red Death, The Fall of the House of Usher. There's a lot of stuff made because Roger Corman went through a period where he wanted to do a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stuff. And so we got a bunch of stuff with Vincent Price that, kind of came in his Poe years. He adapted a bunch of his work. Let us know. What is your favorite Edgar Allan Poe adaptation? Drop it, in the live chat, or drop it in the comments, or hit us up, weekendhorror@gmail.com.
Cask of Amontillado.
Ooh, Cask of Amontillado, yeah.
Oh, that's the one I was trying to think of too. There's that one where he was buried alive. I was trying to think of that. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's go through here. So we did ask favorite mad scientist, and then of course Dark Steve mentioned Howard in Tusk. Yes, Crafty Keely, Black Mirror is awesome. Love it. Jessica G's, see, PhD Tony, it says, at the risk of spoilers, the bad guys in level 16, Doc in The Thing. No, he's not the original Flirt. We already like this. Yes, PhD Tony, the bad guy from Upgrade, rates to mention. Yes, he does. The guy who developed the AI. Well, technically, he developed the AI, then the AI took, or basically blackmailed him is really crazy. That was a really, really good. The example of AI, getting out of control. And of course, how the AI manipulated its host. That was a good one. The empty space, Jessica G says, the empty space is where we keep Team Skeptic's sex life. It's true. It's very cold. we keep it cool and dry so as not to allow it to mold. Let's see. Tony calling out Week in Horror. I don't know what Tony was calling us out for. I'm not really sure.
He says that it's his life's. It's on his bucket list to be on the show.
Oh, Tony's bucket list to be on the show? We're going to have to put Tony on the show one time. We will have to do that. As a matter of fact, hell, it may even be this month because I'm having difficulty with our latest guest, who with our upcoming guest, who seems to think that he seems not understand about watching movies to prepare for this because he's had over a month to look at these, and apparently he hasn't watched anything. So that may not have. We may bring Tony on. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Wait, what?
Well, I gave him a month. I gave him the list of the movies that we're going to talk about like a month ago, and he didn't seem to really grasp the idea of watching movies. I think he thought that the podcast was going to be something different than it is. Even though a month and a half ago, when I first started the conversation, I gave him a link to an episode and an After Dark so we could listen to it and get an idea of what we do. So I tried to give him plenty of prep time. This is we're in the pandemic. Not a lot is going on. He's got the time. So either he doesn't care or he actually is too busy and he just really can't devote the time to it. That's cool. If it is, that'd be so be it. We'll find something. This is not the first time this has happened. We can move on without it. And then, of course, Jessica G shit talking cricket, and Tony pretty much, yep, she's right. PhD News is Quartermass from Quartermass and the Point. I'm not sure I've ever seen an Edgar Allan Poe film adaptation unless J.M. Truth's zombie film counts. That was Creeping Dread because I wasn't sure it was ever going to end. This is true. Crafty Keeler says, no, don't put Tony on. I will stay awake just so I can be on before Tony. Well, it's going to be next week, so you might be up for a while.
That's a long while.
We'll figure it out. Team Skeptic Team Skeptic wants to be on the show, and Jessica G has said that she will stab me in the face if I put him on the show. So
it's pretty violent, Jessica G.
Yeah, that escalated so quickly.
I mean, my goodness.
PhD Tony says, I have seen all the Vincent Price films. Castle Amontillado was good. Yes, so is Mask of the Red Death. Love that one. Jeff Roberts says, was Upgrade the one where the guy was taken over by tech and turned into a killing machine? Yes, it was. Yes. That's pretty much the film in a nutshell. That's pretty much the movie. And
the best synopsis I've ever heard.
I actually think that that film was the spiritual successor to shit.
It was a spiritual successor to shit. JL 2020.
The guy who goes out to check out the AI, to check out the new robot. The robot is an AI, and she played by Alicia Vikander. Eugene, help me out. And then at the end, she double crosses them, kills the creator, traps the guy in the house, and manages to escape in the real world. But she's a robot. Remember, she's a robot, but it was just her face was what was real. But everything else was machine.
Machina?
What was it?
Ex Machina?
Ex Machina.
Yes,
Ex Machina.
Upgrade is definitely the spiritual successor to Ex Machina. All right. Well, we like to close Week in Horror with, we usually have birthdays from some of our favorite people, but we do have one birthday, don't we, Eugene?
Oh, yes, we do. So we want to say a happy birthday to the man, the myth, the legend, Steven Spielberg, born December 18th, 1946. We could talk about him for an entire episode and everything that he's done.
Who's he?
Like legendary-wise.
Steven Spielberg.
Who's that?
Steven Spielberg. He directed a movie.
He's still in film school, right? Is he like the new guy in film school?
No, you're talking about the guy he turned in Schindler's List for his senior thesis film.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That guy.
I have to pay. I know we're talking about Steven Spielberg, but PhD Tony said to Ex Machina, then he screamed Ex Machina, and then he asked if this thing is on. I apologize. I wasn't looking at the live chat. I apologize, Tony, but yes, we got to it. Yes, Steven Spielberg. Holy shit! Now this is the second time that Steven has been, and we've mentioned him on the Week in Horror as far as his birthday goes, which is pretty cool. To be come around the sun a couple times. I wanted to kind of like just touch base with you guys, maybe in the chat. What is your favorite Steven Spielberg film? Like the one that stands out, the one you can always go back to. Eugene, what is your absolute favorite?
Absolute favorite is Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan. I think the Omaha beach scene is the best scene filmed in the 90s. Out of all the iconic things that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 30 minutes where you create a war film that is so realistic, they had to set up a hotline for World War II veterans to afterwards. Yeah. And I was watching one account, and one veteran was watching it. He said he started to smell diesel to recount his experiences. You want somebody who can capture a time period and an event. I think there's nobody better than Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, sweet. Johnny, Spielberg.
Golly, that's tough.
Why is the melting guy on the screen?
That's PhD Tony.
I remember that dude like. Bleh.
But that's not the melting guy.
RoboCop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Johnny, what is your favorite?
Oh man, that is. I don't know. That's tough. I know the one that had like the biggest impact on me was Jurassic Park, simply because I was. Well, I mean, it was the fact that it was 19. You take that film and the effects in it, they hold up to this day.
Yes, in 4K to this day.
Yeah,
1993. 1993.
Yeah. Holy shit.
I still get chills when I see that Brachiosaur on screen.
Right. I mean, looking at I watched that in theaters. My brother's like, "Oh yeah, I watched this movie. It's pretty cool. Go check it out." We all watched it. We went together and watched this movie. It was amazing. So I mean, the amount of care that he put into that film was, I mean, it was just next level. And the fact that it still holds up to this day when you're talking about effects wise, I mean, it's just amazing.
The one, well, I do. Jurassic Park has a special place in my heart. So does Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jaws. The one that gets me every time, and I think it was so informative about how I would kind of go within the horror genre, was Duel.
Oh yeah,
I will always go back to Duel because that was the very first film where I ever encountered like people were the monsters. Like, this is a person. You never see anything about him of him except for his boots. Okay, but you have the guy in his car, desperate. The car is breaking down because the car was a piece of shit, being menaced by a dude in a fucking 18-wheeler. That is fucking scary, especially when you're in a little piece of shit car like he was.
Yeah.
And the idea of a driver out there doing that to not is he toying with you? That scene when the driver comes and he plows through the reptile farm. That with the driver with the truck just takes everything out. Holy shit! And then, of course, the tension of when he only knows what the dude's boots look like, and then he's like, he's in I think he was in the diner looking for where this guy might be. The tension in that film, the action in that film, of course, the epic ending when he's in the car, he jumps out of the car, the fucking truck goes over the cliff. Never see the bad guy. For all we know, it was the truck itself. Duel was amazing, and it was just so informative to my youth, to my childhood.
It was. I always remember the sound that the truck made when it went over the cliff, and it was like the screaming monster that was being killed. It didn't sound like just a truck going over a cliff.
Fun fact, they reused that in Jaws when the shark blew up.
I totally believe it.
Yeah, when the shark blows up and it's sinking down under the waves, they basically took the same deal, the same sound effect, and put it underwater, and added a couple of little things. But yeah, it's pretty much the same Foley as the shark was singing after it exploded. It's great shit.
It is. I do. I love that. I saw the movie when I was real young, and I will always remember where the truck is parked on the side of the road, and then you see his arm come out and just wave him past.
Yeah.
Just in like just creep. It's so nonchalant but so creepy in the same way.
So great. All right, going to the live chat. What do we got? So we said, what is your favorite Steven Spielberg film? And we have got Dark Steve 84 with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Amazing film. Richard Dreyfuss was on point.
Absolutely.
And of course, after that movie came out, people started seeing aliens everywhere, and they all look like grays, just like depicted in that movie. It's interesting how that coincides. Jeff Roberts says, I'm with Dark Steve 84, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Craft Tequila says she loves Spielberg's little bit of input into How to Train Your Dragon series, but she agrees. Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was amazing. Peachy Tony says, Eugene nailed it. Saving Private Ryan is one of the few Spielberg films that I own. That and Duel. Boom. Theoretic says he is a big fan of Hook, but I think I'm the only one. You're not the only one.
No, it was good. I like Hook.
No, Hook's amazing. Hook is amazing.
My Angela and I like to sit and just watch that on occasion. It's a lot of fun. Dark Steve 84 says he also Duel. Jessica G says Goonies is mine. Well, he produced it anyway. He did have input. We know that when Spielberg produces, his input is there.
Yep.
No one's going to tell him no. Just like with
he might as well be. He's like a shadow director whenever he produces.
He may as well be, just like Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. The only reason why Steven Spielberg's name wasn't directed by is because he was directing another film, and they didn't want the movie house didn't want to have his name on two films that were coming out at the same time.
Let's see. Catnip and Tips, Indiana Jones, but not the last one.
You didn't like the Crystal Skull?
Craft Tequila says she loved Hook, but Craft Tequila also asks an interesting question. JL, what is Spielberg's worst film? And that is an interesting question, and it solidly lands on AI.
You think?
Yes.
I couldn't consider AI because Stanley Kubrick directed like half.
But Spielberg finished it.
So like, I don't know if I would consider. I know Spielberg at my spot. Steven's name is on it, but I never really considered it fully directed by him.
Yeah. I don't know if I can give that one all Spielberg. And here's the thing: AI wasn't terrible. It was like that notch right above terrible.
I like where it was kind of starting. I didn't like where it ended up.
Yeah,
I really did. That was
it took a weird turn because you can tell where Kubrick wanted it to end, and then Spielberg was like, "I don't want that ending," and then kept going.
Yeah.
Well, their directorial styles were so vastly different.
Very much.
And so you can tell. You can almost tell where with the point in the film where it stopped being Kubrick and it started being Spielberg. But yeah, obviously one of the most influential directors of all time, a legendary director, one of the biggest inspirations in my life. But it probably started that way because I found out that he was an Eagle Scout. When I was very early in Boy Scouts, I found out Steven Spielberg was an Eagle Scout. I was like, holy shit. And that kind of opened it was one of the things that opened the doors for me into kind of like the film world. So definitely a big happy birthday to Steven Spielberg. Love you. Can't wait to see what else you come out with. So
yeah, happy birthday, Steven.
Happy birthday.
All right. What time is it, Eugene?
Oh, we promised one of these at the very beginning of the episode too.
Yes,
it is our trivia question. And so our trivia question is for the free Weekend Horror T-shirt. The question
I hope everybody was listening. Everybody was paying attention. Here it comes.
Yes, here it comes. Oh, we have said
show them that shirt again.
Yeah, wait. Show the shirt.
Everybody, can you see it?
A little higher.
Get my beard out of the way.
There we go. There we go. All right. So we have said the answers to this question, if you're paying attention. And the question is, what were the 4 years the films we talked about were released? The first one who puts it in the chat below will win. What were the 4 years the films we talked about were released?
I'm very
good. People like frankly Google search all of them.
It was challenging enough. It was challenging enough, but I didn't want to make it too hard because I didn't know how many people we were going to have here. But we do have enough people in the chat that I think think it might be kind of a search. So I want to give just a little bit of a hint. just in case people are out there Googling just crazily. So the films we talked about were We Summon the Darkness, Desolation, Hellmaster, and The Telltale Heart, narrated by James Morgan.
Yep.
So James Mason. Yeah, James Mason.
Mason.
The question is, what are the 4 years that the films we talked about were released? 1, 2, 3, and 4. You got 4. PhD Tony's got 2019, 2017, 1952. Oh,
So close.
So close, PhD Tony. But those movies again: We Summon the Darkness, Desolation, The Telltale Heart with James Mason, and Hellmaster. Come on. I know you guys got it. PhD Tony says 2019, 2017, 1952, and 1989?
That is incorrect.
PhD Tony is so close. He's trying to go from memory. And you're so close. I'll tell you this, PhD Tony. You got 2 of them right.
Yep.
You got 2 of them right.
One of them is so close to being right.
And the other one's kind of off.
Yeah, a little off.
Not right at all. Crafty Kid says, I want the t-shirt, but I'm too drunk to care about the years.
We appreciate your honesty.
Yep.
Yes, Crafty is why we love you. Dark Steve says 2019, 2017, 1969. No.
Ah!
Jessica G says, I'm so high that I can't even remember 25 seconds ago.
Jessica G, while PhD Tony is desperately looking this up to win this t-shirt, I got to tell you, I fucked my back up recently. I talked about it on the show. I torqued my back and it was bad. And
looks like we have a almost wiener.
Charlie Welch says 1953, 1989, 017019. Oh, 2000. I think it's 2017. Close.
Yep, very close.
So close, Charlie. So close. But Jessica, I torqued my back. I torqued the fucking shit out of my back, and I was done. And there was one. My wife, one of her friends came from. I think she went to Colorado. She came from somewhere up north, and she bought a bunch of stuff with her, a bunch of goodies with her, and she brought me a chocolate bar that every single square is 20 milligrams. So I'm not a huge weed smoker. I'm not. I'm very much a lightweight. I don't have a lot of the inside knowledge as to like how many milligrams of THC and what does like that. I have no fucking clue. Anyway, my back was really hurting. I ate 2 squares. Holy shit!
Yeah. You were done for a while.
I will say this: it clicked in my head. It felt like a switch going on. Oh, yeah, I'm high. Wow. and it wasn't bad, except it really didn't dull the pain, which I imagine there are strains that you could smoke or you can take. There are strains you can utilize for pain management. This was not for pain management. I was able to visualize the pain better, if that makes any sense. But it was a lot. It was pretty fucked up. But yeah, I was like, and then of course I took it right before I went to bed. I wake up, I'm still kind of high. Take a shower, I'm still kind of like buzzed. I go into work and I'm like, what? What's? It felt like I was like on the very tail end of a hangover. Of a decent hangover, whatever. We got some attempts here. Dark Steve 89, 2019, 2017. 1953 and 1989. No.
So close. So
close.
far.
Crafty Keeler says 1954. Nope. Already wrong. Already wrong there.
There he is. PhD Tony.
PhD Tony, 2019, 2017, 1953, and 1992. Fuck yeah!
Yeah!
And Crafty Keeler says, I'm just stealing years from everyone else. Sorry, Tony. Oh, man. Charlie, you were so close. You were 1 year off. It was, it was 1992, not 1985. Yep. So thank you guys so much like this. So, yes, to PhD Tony, you will be getting one of these shirts. You're one of the beardsmen, so I know exactly where you are. I will get your details, and we will ship this bad boy out. You can tell me what size you want, and we will get you one of the limited edition shirts. Right now, I think they're only like fucking $11.99, or they're like $14.99 on TeeSpring. I lowered the price like big time down. I want people to be able to get these because we're not going to offer them again. So, yes, awesome. Congratulations, PC Tony. Well done.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All right, and that closes out another episode of the Week in Horror. Thank you all so much for listening and watching, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. As always, you can visit us at weekinhorror.net, where you can find links to all of our episodes, our bios, except mine, our merch store, our merch store at TeeSpring, and of course, enter your email for a permanent entry to win a mystery horror shirt every month. For more horror entertainment, be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Followers get our daily splatter, a bit of horror info every day, right to your feed. You never know what you may discover. This is our first attempt at a live format for the show, and of course, we'd love to get your feedback. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get all the latest information from the show. And lastly, if you truly love what we do here and you would like and are able to support our production, you can through our PayPal and Patreon. We have Patreon tiers for as low as $1, bonus and exclusive content, and horror films every month. Links to everything, including our new Discord community, where you can find film recommendations, trailers, trivia games, and even interact directly with us, are below. But we know these are trying times, and things are extremely tight. As always, simply liking and sharing this show to your local horror community is always the absolute best way to help us continue to grow. We appreciate each and every one of you for your continued viewership. We can't say listenership, just listenership anymore. It's viewership now. So, yeah.
Holy shit.
I've been Johnny O.
I am JL.
And I'm Eugene.
We'll see you next time, and as always, stay scared.